All right.
Are you putting anything up, Aaron, regarding like showing slides or showing the
Probably not. I didn't get a chance to get anything gathered up.
Well, I could do this. Hold on. Oh, I gotta go watch out. A lot of improper ads in this one, though.
You looking at? Oh.
Well, I got the Read Comic Online thing. They have the issue, and there's like a girl shaking her booty, and then below there's like, does your dick need to be bigger? And it's just like there's some questionable ads on this one.
Yeah, I've got a ad blocker that blocks a lot of that.
Yeah, so I don't know.
That sounds so like a shady internet webpage.
Well, they get their they need shady companies to help support them.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get going. Okay. So first off, hello to everyone out there in YouTube or wherever you guys are watching this at. Please feel free to leave a message or comment, and I can read your comments on the air. Let us know what you think as we go along and your own thoughts and ratings and all that. But we're going to get started with issue 54. So, welcome to G.I. Joe, Royal American Headcast, episode 54. As usual, I am your host, Aaron, Brotherhead Moss. Joining me, as usual, I have some of my regular crew. We have Kevin Reitzel, a.k.a. Raider Nerd.
What is up? Good to see you guys. Good to see you, Aaron. Good to see you, Brad.
Glad you could join us.
Good to be seen by everyone else watching and listening. Appreciate it. Good to be back.
Also joining us, we have Mr. Brad Abraham.
I forgot my code name this week. Wait. No. If Jared's not here, I can be Jared 1.0.
Write that again. We have Brad Abraham, a.k.a. Jared.
Yeah. Jared, the real Jared is not here, so I'm going to be subbing for him.
Yeah, so Jared hasn't been here the last couple episodes, restraining orders and inappropriate touching and all that. Not sure who's doing who at this point, but he's got a Comic-Con to go to, and David was going to join us, but his funeral's tomorrow. Wedding is tomorrow. I get those two confused. So congratulations to our buddy David, who's getting hitched tomorrow. He figured that was more important than recording a couple of yahoos about G.I. Joe. So
I figures, whatever.
What are you going to do? But I'm glad you two could join me today to talk some G.I. Joe.
Well, we're already married, though, right? Kevin's got
Yes.
Kevin has a spouse. I got a spouse. We're all the married guys here, so we can escape from familial obligation and go record an episode.
Yeah. Sometimes it's really have to escape that to come over and talk with you guys some G.I. Joe. But anyways, we're here talking about G.I. Joe. This is issue 54. The cover date on this was December of 1986. The on sale date, September the 9th, 1986. Cover price was 75 cents. The title was called Launch Base. Written as normal, Larry Hama. Penciler was Rod Wiggum. Inker, Sam De La Rosa. Inker, Joseph Rosen. The colorist was George Russos. And according to Mike's Amazing World of Comics, the cover was done by Mike Zeck. The editor was Bob Harris. And this was reprinted in G.I. Joe Trade Paperback Volume 6. And I believe the complete collection number 6. I don't have it handy, and Jared's not here to confirm that for me. So we're going to say it was complete collection 6. So first off, let's go ahead and talk about the cover. Let me go ahead for anyone watching. Let me go ahead and see if I can do this. No guarantee. Window. And there. So the cover of this one here, let me shrink this down. Play. There we go. So the cover of this one, if you're watching from home on YouTube or Facebook or wherever it's at, we've got Flint falling through the air on a parachute, holding his gun as a firebat comes streaking at him. We see the Terrordrome down below. We see a plane off in the background crashing into the forest. Very, very nice cover. Very kind of reminiscent of what we get inside the issue. And let's go get some thoughts on this. Let's start with Kevin. What are your thoughts on this cover?
It's a memorable cover. It's one that I always look at. What's really weird though, and I don't know why, but I always get confused when I first see this, because there was the one earlier issue where you see guys jumping on top of a roller coaster. Remember that one? And that always I was like, is this that one? No. Okay, this is the one that's over the.
I think that was the first appearance of the twins.
Yeah, the Terrordrome here and stuff. It's not like one of the most memorable covers for me personally. Not like was it issue 52 that you guys apparently crapped on and did not give a high enough love to. Like I thought that I did.
Crapped on it. We just
you crapped on it. You gave less than a 4. That's crapping on a cover. And the reason why his face looks like that, Quick Kick, is because he's getting hit in the face by a ninja. You get hit in the face by a ninja and see if you look nice. Everyone's complaining. Look at Quick Kick's face. Anyway, I let things go.
Do you really?
What I like about this cover, the issue 54, is you basically are getting a little tease into a particular scene. And it's not an exact, tale of the scene. You don't see him in the comic doing this, but it does add to a very cool cover that I like. Not to mention at the same time showing 2 new things that you can buy at your local toy store.
Yeah. New toy alert.
Exactly.
And is that it, Kevin?
Yes.
Okay. Brad, thoughts on the cover?
It's a good cover. It's really well done. And I remember seeing this cover on the newsstand specifically because when it came out, I had just moved from Greensboro, North Carolina to Brockville, Ontario. And I hadn't renewed my comic subscriptions. So I was back to buying them as I saw them. And there was no comic book store in town at the time. It was a few years before we got one. So you're really going back to the convenience store spinner racks. So I remember seeing it and grabbing it and buying it and bringing it home. And I agree with Kevin that it's a good cover. It depicts some really great dynamic action, and it depicts action from the issue itself, which is always welcome. I've said before, I like these covers that depict what actually happens in the book. But again, as Kevin said, compared to some of the other covers, that it kind of reminds me of like 34, 36, 47, and further on. It doesn't quite stand out as much. And I try to articulate why that is, but we'll get into that with the issue. I think some of it may just be that we're 54 issues into what's going to be a 155 issue run. And at a certain point, it becomes, I think the great covers tend to come a little less frequently from here on in, just because there's so much else to compare it to behind and further ahead. But I do think it definitely stands out from action on that standpoint, and also, as also mentioned, the action figure toy requirement. Everything on the cover you can buy in finer toy stores near you. So, which is kind of the point of the comic to begin with. But it's an action cover, and it's quite an action-packed issue, as I recall as well. But we'll get into that.
What I'm kind of surprised about is why didn't we get the Conquest on the cover? Because I know you waited till you have to see it in the comic, but that would have really, really kind of been a better choice than what they had there. Firebat's cool. Come on, the Conquest. There you go.
Isn't that it falling in the background?
Yeah, I was going to say, technically, the Conquest is on the cover.
Foregrounding.
You know what I mean. Come on. Showcase it, No,
that's true. That is very true. That is a very good point. Because it's the Terrordrome and the Firebat have been hanging around for about 10 issues, 10 months right now in the comic continuity. So we've kind of seen it before. But so yeah, if you didn't really know to look at it, you wouldn't really notice it as much.
Yeah, no, I agree with both you guys. Yeah, it's not the best cover we've seen, because we've had a lot of great covers and there's more to come. But yeah, it's a good cover. It like both you guys have said, it's a depicting basically a scene from the issue. And as Brad was just saying, I too like when the cover depicts an actual scene from the book and not just some generic, wannabe, whatever picture they have hanging around. Again, there are exceptions to the rule.
You're right. There are exceptions to the rule.
Yeah,
big exceptions to the rule. Issue 43, baby.
Skeleton or the death firing the gun. That is an exception.
One exception.
That's a great cover in itself, just for its own reasons. But normally on the average, I like when they have something that depicts the actual something going inside the cover, and or inside the issue. And I didn't really think about it until now. But yeah, Kevin's right. They should have probably focused more on the conquest and how it's the new toy. And here, we do get the conquest, but it's going down in flames, which I don't know how well it does for toy sales. But we'll get to that. So let's get some numbers on this. 1 to 5 Yojo Colas. 1 being it sucks. 5, if you were Kevin, you're going to hang it on your wall behind you. For issue 43 at least. Kevin, how many Yojo Colas do you give this one?
I'm going to give this one a 3. It's not very memorable. It's okay. But I'm deducting points for not showing the conquest on it in the way that it should be shown, not being shot down, trailing, or faking being shot down. Come on.
And Brad, 1 to 5 Yojo Colas.
I'm going to give it, this is going to surprise you, I'm going to give it a 3.5. 3, it gets a 3 because it's a solid cover. It depicts some great action. There's a great sense of dynamic fluidity to everything that's happening on the page. The 0.5 is a bonus because this cover is completely devoid of a guy dressed up as a bird.
Hey, we will have no crapping on Raptor. Strike 1 against you, Brad. Oh, no. And for my own reasons, completely different from Brad, apparently. I also give this a 3.5 because, again, here on the Headcast network, we don't mind halvesies. If Jared was here, his head would be spinning in his socket right about now, But, it's better than I remember when I think about this cover. I think about this cover. Yeah, it's a decent cover. I look at it. It's a little better than I thought. But, yeah, it's still not fantastic. And as Kevin says, yeah, definitely. Now that you put that thought in my head, I can't get it out that it should have had the conquest.
That's a better cover right there. Issue 52.
Yeah. So it looks like about a 3.5 on this one overall. So, which I guess translates down to a 3.25. So let's go look at the issue itself. The synopsis: Scarlet, Snake Eyes, and the Baroness pay their respects to Destro, who they believe is dead in the former pit.
No love for Cobra Commander, really?
No love for Cobra Commander. Well, and there's reasons for that. Yeah. Meanwhile, Serpentor, having taken his place as ruler of Cobra, has begun selling terror drones to whoever has the money. The first go on to Cerro Gordo. The new pilots Slipstream and Flint fly a rescue mission to Cerro Gordo when they get shot down, with Flint being captured by Brad's favorite, the twins. Meanwhile, Hawk, Scarlet, and Flint hear from Slipstream that he was able to get away and the package was delivered. What? Finally, under the pit, Cobra Commander and Destro try to find a way out as the wreckage begins filling with rainwater. Dun, dun, dun. So that is issue 54. Let's go ahead and let me see real quick. Oh, and real quick, some notes from yojo.com. This was the first appearance of Slipstream. This was Dialtone's first appearance in the main series. Apparently, Special Missions 2, which we cover on our Bravo team, was his actual first appearance. This was the return of this country of Cerro Gordo, which first appeared way back in issue number 12. And as I said, Cobra begins selling the first Terrordromes. So, Kevin, let's get some thoughts on this issue. What are your thoughts on this?
I forgot about what happened after the pit got destroyed. I forgot a lot about the details. So it was nice to be reminded of that and revisit this issue. And obviously you got toy placement. You've got the the Fire Bat, you got the Conquest, you got the Terrordrome, and then you also they showcase the twins on the what's the name of the little 4-wheeler bike again? I keep forgetting. Anyone? Four-wheel Stinger?
Ferret.
Ferret. Okay, yeah. And I remember putting my twins on those, the 3 3/4 ones. So I thought that was kind of funny because I always, they're always hanging out together. And I always like a good air combat panels in a comic book. It's good, and I like the idea of the Joes kind of getting someone behind the scenes, intentionally captured, aka Flint ? But I love that we got showcased to Slipstream, and of course this new the new Conquest. That was one of my favorite Joe toys. It was just a really cool looking toy with the swept forward wings and such. But I got a couple of questions though. I always thought it was kind of funny where like the guys from what was it, Rio Lindu, is that what they're from?
Sierra Gordo.
Sierra Gordo. Sorry, I get them wrong. Sierra Gordo. I always wondered, like, the Sierra Gordo guys are back, and it's funny too because like it's not like one dictator, it's like 3, I guess. And I started thinking about like what's life like there in Sierra Gordo now. I mean, the Joes got out of there. Is it pretty repressed? Is there any relations with any other countries around them? What's their main export, import? And and I love how excited that they are about the Terrordrome and how it's modular. And one of them goes, "I'm ecstatic. This Terrordrome is simply awesome. Wait until I tell everyone at the next convention of totalitarian dictators, everyone will want one. Do they come in choice of colors? What about imitation stucco or Adobe or Hacienda?" I would pay $50 for a 3-pack action figure of these dictators. Can you please make that happen? I love that. Anyway, there's just certain little things I like about it. I also like when they're like forking over the money to Serpentor, and the Dreadnoks there are just like eating donuts and grape soda. Just these little touches that I like on this, And also too, can I please get a mock-up of Mig Waxer, the video game that Slipstream apparently destroys after overloading it? I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I liked how they showcased the Terrordrome in this, with the big cannons on the side, and when the Fire Bat takes off, that's pretty cool. Overall, a nice kind of like, I like when a big action scene happens in a comic book and they don't let up afterwards, because we had the pit destroyed in the last one, and we kind of see the aftermath and the plan thus moving forward on both sides, which I like. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then someone, at the end too, we get Mindbender and the brainwave scanner. Question mark? Someone familiar with that or not? We'll see. And then we get the little tease at the end that, of course, Cobra Commander and Destro are in there underneath the rubble with rain coming down. And what's really weird is I forgot how they got out, and I'm kind of excited to look into that because I know it happens next issue. I just don't remember how they got out.
And I specifically remember next issue, which we'll talk about next month. But yeah, that's a special one to me. So. Brad, thoughts on this issue?
It's a pretty solid issue overall. If one that for some reason just feels a little off for me, and I'll explain why. As I said off the top with the cover, it kind of arrived just as I set foot in my new town after moving there. So it's very much tied to that time in my life, and it feels, I think, because it feels like a departure from what came before with G.I. Joe. We had the big battle at the pit the last issue, and the board's been reset a little, so it kind of feels like a fresh start. But I was also moving away from G.I. Joe at the time, even though I hung on with a comic for another year or two. It wasn't a complete break, but I wasn't into the toys anymore at that point. I'd moved on to other things. But I gotta say, the Terrordrome idea, selling them as franchisees to the regimes that can afford it, that's a really solid idea. That's almost like James Bond mega villain good idea, because Cobra is depicted in such this nebulous way at times, and them having a plan to further their global reach through various trouble spots is actually quite clever. And it's a storyline that, if I recall, continues for quite a while. Like the next 40 or 50 or so issues are very much dominated by the Terrordrome and what they're doing with them. And the Terrordrome gets a lot of mileage in the comic, and it gives Cobra a purpose other than just standing around in silly costumes, dressed as birds, and being all backstabby with each other. I also enjoy seeing. Yeah, I know. That's right too. I'm going to say, I get a point back saying I enjoyed seeing Serpentor being more active and taking a leading role in this. I know you're all shocked, but I think unlike Zartan and Toe Jam and Xanax, Larry kind of figured out how to use Serpentor much more effectively, a lot quicker than he did. I mean, with Zartan and Tomax and Zaymot, he did figure out how to make them work for the story he was telling. But I feel like he sort of landed on what Serpentor needed to be a lot earlier. He's been a competitor for the Cobra leadership so a very short time, but that bit of conflict drove much of his storyline up to this point. But now with Cobra Commander seemingly out of the picture, he's taking over and he's making plans, and he's actually pulling it off. And you see this on page 8 of the book, which is got him with his snake cowl off, talking with I guess Zartan and Xandar and Zorana about his fiendish plans, his sales core, and all these other schemes he's got. And in the background, you have, I guess it's Ripper and Buzzer removing the paintings, the memorial paintings of Destro and Cobra Commander, presumably to chuck them under the pile. And they put up a painting of Serpentor as well. So in a nice visual way, he's kind of completely taken over the organization, and they're all going with it, which is going to be fun to see, though it makes me wonder just how rudderless Cobra has been, that someone like the Baroness or Dr. Mindbender or someone who wasn't just cooked up in a lab and dropped into the scene wouldn't have pulled a coup at some point. But, you'd think a Firefly or a Major Blood might want to get in on some of that, but they've kind of faded into the background at this point. And, I really liked, my favorite parts are probably the smaller bits, the bits with Cobra Commander and Destro still alive in the pit as it's being inundated with water, because it is brief, yes, but it points to what will be a big storyline and big changes in the comic to come. And I think that is something I'm really looking forward to exploring in future episodes, even though they do feature a guy dressed as a bird.
All right. How did I disconnect Brad from the chat?
Well, you know what? This just as an aside, the reason I'm wearing a Aerosmith t-shirt is because I knew on this episode I'd be living on the edge.
Very nice.
Living on the edge.
Oh, very nice. And yeah, I do like on that page you were just talking about where they're replacing Cobra Commander's picture. Serpentor has a model Terrordrome sitting there. He just sits there and spins. That's a nice touch. But yeah, again, good issue. Yeah, I do like that Snake Eyes and Scarlet is both honoring Destro as they find him as an honorable. One second, Kevin. Let me make that bigger.
Spinning the Terrordrome. I love that right there.
So yeah, there we are. There we are.
There you go. Yes.
That's a nice. I like that scene. It's very nice.
Yeah. Look at Zorana just sitting in the chair going, my chair.
Yeah, it's got some
great
image.
By the way, the coffee guy right here.
Oh, yeah.
That's from those commercials. Remember those commercials?
Valdez.
Juan Valdez. That was Juan Valdez right there that just got.
I was about to comment on that. I was going to say there's this very small little bit of famous 80s ephemera that's completely lost to today's generations. That these commercials with this guy with his mule bringing the coffee beans down from the mountains, and Juan Valdez. He hands.
That's a Maverick Tom Cruise move right there.
Yeah, not blow his hat off.
But yeah, no, I thought of that shit. I forgot to make a note about that.
Thank you for remembering his name, because I couldn't remember his name, but I'm like, that's a coffee commercial from the 80s. I remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just quick one aside. One other thing to note about the panel below Juan Valdez and the coffee beans is this beauty shot of the X30, which looks like it was ripped right off of the the package art, the box art for the
Kind of
X30.
feels like it should have been on the cover, doesn't it?
It kind of does. I was just gonna say it kind of does.
Yeah.
The new toy needs to be on the cover.
You think that'd be a good idea, but what do I know? But yeah, back to my notes. So yeah, Snake Eyes and Scarlet, like we were talking about, they thought Destro was very honorable, so they're kind of not really mourning him per se, but they were paying the respects. Whereas someone mentioned, yeah, the heck with Cobra Commander. At the same time, I do like that the Rattler zooming in behind Snake Eyes there on page 2. It was nice seeing the Rattler just coming in behind the Baroness, throwing her wreath over, a tear in her eye as she mourns her lost love.
Let's give her a little shout out for her airmanship there and piloting skills.
Yes.
You know? I mean, come on.
Yes.
I mean, she got used to being in the back seat, you know, in a dogfight. Now she's in the front seat, like coming in all Cobra. I mean, she could have taken out the Joes right there if she wanted to.
Could have had a big crip in the Joes at that point, but you know,
yeah.
She was more concerned about paying her respects to her lost love. My next note on here is even trapped in the pit, Cobra Commander and Destro do not remove their masks. Just the two of them, they're sweating and trying to dig their way out. And
Yet.
Page 12. I like that they're still referring to the twins' link. Yeah, their psychic link. I do like that reference there. It was nice.
Mm-hmm.
And the last note I have on this, again, the brainwave scanner makes a return. It's been a little bit since we've seen it. And I do like, that they're kind of, they're making us think that Flint got captured, and then we see Flint in the pits. And as they're bringing out the brainwave scanner, you see the look on in quote, Flint's face as they show that. And they're like, it's someone that, someone that's, seen this before. Here it is. And let me find that real quick. And again, you may not know this isn't Flint, but I do like that the twins point out, well, the last time we met him, he was very talkative and very boisterous. Here, he's been very quiet for some reason. But that
he almost got some action from Lady J in the last issue, but they had to deal with some Cobra eels, Damn Cobra eels.
Yeah. And they think
wait, hold on. What came first? That scene with them almost making out and Cobra eels invading, or the lovers on the beach in Invasion USA and the terrorists coming to the beach? Which one came first? You know what I'm talking about, right? Invasion USA.
Talking about Invasion USA. I know this. Invasion USA came out in 1985. And this is a year
okay, later. All right. So someone borrowed from someone else. I just say
somebody was watching Invasion USA. I wonder who.
But get back to this page. But those are my main thoughts on. Like I said, I forgot to notate it, but I did like Juan Valdez showing up. Yeah, very much of an 80s throwback reference there. It's very nice. But overall, it's a good issue for, like Brad said, it's kind of a change in the guard, kind of a moving point A to point B. As the pit's been destroyed, Cobra Commander and Destro are in quotes dead. New Cobra leadership is firmly taken afoot, and they're just going to set up for the new status quo, I guess, for now. So very nice.
I want to throw up a reminder. I like to talk ads in the comics, yes. So I don't know when you want to throw that in after we do our panel pick or whatever. So
what's that? Let's do it now.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So as you see, I got the original comic here. This is my only copy of the comic here. And some other ones I have more than one copy, but I love that they have a laser tag ad in this here. And what's really cool is it says by the summer of '86, the game of tag had changed forever. There's a laser tag, and this guy's going right here. Like, watch this. There's a laser tag siren. You can't deny it this time. It's your 6th hit, and you're out. The sensor never lies. The person that gets hit goes, rats. And then the dog talks and says, betrayed by the computer scanned infrared beaming and oscillating LED readout. And the girl says, now let's see how this does against some real competition. Laser tag game kit comes with Starlight or one sensor, one star belt, batteries not included. 1986 World of Wonder Inc. Look for laser tag Saturday mornings this fall on NBC. And then I don't know if you guys remember the Bonkers
I
gum.
remember it.
What it says, a brand new flavor has just dropped from Bonkers: chewy candy, chewy chocolate Bonkers, rich chocolate outside, dark fudge inside, delicious Bonkers. Comes in strawberry, orange, grape, and watermelon too. Were they good? I don't remember them, Brad. Do you remember?
You know what? I gotta say that we are we are impoverished here in the 21st century by not having more chocolate flavored chewing gum.
Exactly.
If memory serves, I do remember having it. If memory serves, it was either that or there was another chewing gum brand that was chocolate mint or something like that. And you started chewing it, and the flavor was very strong right off the top, and then it faded like really quickly. So then you're just chewing a piece of rubber.
So the one last thing I wanted to talk about, and this is in the center of the comic book here, and I was reminded, and I just want to throw it back at you guys for a second. When did you kind of check out of Saturday morning cartoons? When were you like, I'm kind of not liking the lineup? Well, I can tell you, it was 1986. And this is a reminder right here. I'm going to hold it up here, okay? I'm going to read this to you here. But this was Saturday morning cartoons here, okay? So we had Kissy Fur. We had Disney's Adventures of the Gummy Bears. We had Alvin and the Chipmunks. We had Foofer. I'm not a dodo, I'm a dog. Name's Foofer. We had Smurfs. We had animated Punky Brewster. And we had Kid Video, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. And then we had One to Grow On with Michael J. Fox. Those were the life lesson shorts that you would see in between your commercials and stuff. But I just wanted to show you real quick. This is what Saturday morning cartoons were in 1986. I checked out. This was not for me. I don't know if that's when Saved by the Bell was coming on, because that's when I checked in there. Catch my drift. But so I want to talk. This was 1986 through 87 NBC Saturday morning schedule. Okay, maybe I checked out an NBC Saturday morning schedule. I don't remember what was on CBS at the time. But I want to talk about Kid Video here for a second.
Real quick, I was just looking because I'm like, well, maybe there's something on other shows, because I seem to have been with. I seem to remember watching cartoons Saturday through that entire time. But yeah, I'm looking on, and I found a tviv.org. They've got a listing of all the Saturday morning cartoons, supposedly. And yeah, I'm looking for the fall lineup. ABC was The Wuzzles, Care Bear Family, Flintstone Kids, Real Ghostbusters, Pound Puppies, Bugs Bunny Tweety Show, All New Ewoks, and then Weekend Specials, and then American Bandstand.
That was what? ABC or CBS?
ABC.
Okay.
CBS was the Bears.
This is NBC. I ain't watching NBC. I would have checked into ABC.
Bears,
for sure.
Wildfire, Jim Henson's Muppet Babies, Pee-wee's Playhouse, Teen Wolf.
There you go. Okay. There you go.
Right. That's
I think I checked out as Saturday morning cartoons when they didn't renew the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon for a second.
Oh gosh, yeah. But I wanted to talk about Kid Video real quick here. See that right there, Kid Video. Yes, I was like, what the heck is Kid Video? And so I looked it up on IMDb, and it says at the beginning of each episode, Kid Video and the rest of the Basement Band are live action characters who get forced into bizarre and animated world by the hands of the evil and animated record producer, Master Blaster. They become an animated themselves, but always find their way back to the real world, in quotation, and foil the nefarious plans of Master Blaster, and just in time to play a song before the show ends. I'm sorry, but was that before or after Mad Max 3?
I can answer that question for you too. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Master Blaster runs Bartertown. That was 1985, baby. This is 1986. This is a whole
other world. Someone said.
Although I think Kid Video actually started airing in 85 around the same time, because I remember catching it on Saturday mornings when I lived in Greensboro, and they would intersperse music throughout the animated stuff from like contemporary artists like Billy Idol. I think they did an Eyes Without a Face one, and some other stuff. So they actually did pepper the show with some actual contemporary music. And if you look on YouTube, there's a whole bunch of them on there you can watch to confirm or deny.
I was looking at trivia for the kid video. It says, like many of the shows of era using popular music at the time, reruns of the original music intact are extremely rare due to the increasing cost of licensing the songs.
Yeah,
that
you have to surf the high seas of
Yeah.
the internet to get the original ones. Although one of the characters, like there's the in the artwork that you had up there's the guy with the glasses and the blonde bowl cut. That is in fact Robbie Wrist, aka Cousin Oliver from the Brady Bunch, and Dr. Z from Battlestar Galactica 1980. So
yeah, he also did voices from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and such like that.
He did. He
Robbie Wrist did Michelangelo. Yeah, that's right. He did Michelangelo.
Yeah, and
Very
he's
cool.
still active. He's still active today. He's one of those.
And real quick, Casey Kasem provided the bumper announcement. Kid video will return after these messages.
Of course.
So, yeah.
I remember watching kid video here and there.
I have no memory of it. No memory.
According to this, it ran originally on NBC from 1984 to 1985, and then reruns continued on the network until 1987 when CBS picked the show up.
Yeah.
And original development was called Hot Rocks, which was changed to Kid Video.
The 80s were such a golden time for TV. I'm sorry. I know people say,
it is.
Well, it is, but nowadays people will say, oh, well, when Reagan deregulated this and allowed them to advertise, shows to kids like during the afternoon school blocks and the Saturday blocks, and it was a bad thing and everything. But it was one of those things that just fueled a lot of creativity and a lot of interesting choices, and they would take risks on shows and concepts that they wouldn't ordinarily do. As evinced by the ad that Kevin was looking through at some of these shows. We're kind of like, what the heck were they thinking? But it gave an opportunity to sort of
NBC. I might have watched you on Thursday nights, but not on Saturday morning. Screw you. All right, that's it for the.
Did some voices ads on it. Anyways, so that was the ads. Unless anyone has any comments on that, we'll move on to the next section, the Real American Hero. This is a Joe or Cobra that did something extra special or deserves extra recognition. This time we'll go and start with Brad. Brad, do you have a Real American Hero for this issue?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Slipstream. He's the new Joe. He appears playing video games, which is something all us 80 kids could empathize. He kicks butt with the video games. And in this one issue, this one mission, he proves why he belongs on the G.I. Joe team. He flies the X-30. He knocks Juan Valdez's hat off. He does low altitude maneuvering. He outmaneuvers a fire bat. It looks like he's been hit and he's going down. It's a big fake out. He accomplished the mission. I mean, that's on your first mission for the Joe team. You excel and surpass expectations. So you can't really give it to anybody else other than him, I'm afraid.
And Kevin,
I'm gonna take a left turn here, guys, because I found these guys entertaining. I'm gonna give it to the dictators there. Is it Rio Lindo? What are they called again? Sierra
Gordo.
It's basically the same planet. It's the same island or country that Commando had to go to rescue his daughter, so that's basically what it is. But I mean, I don't know how it is that these guys can work together and they have, so they dropped $250 million, right, for this one terror drone. Because obviously Serpenter agrees we can have the first terror drone delivered online in a week. And then there's this one right here, this little panel right here. Okay, let me show you this one right there. Okay, right. And usually it's one guy, but it's three guys working together, right? And they go, "That was magnifico. We couldn't have asked for a better practical demonstration." And the other guy goes, "It performed flawlessly." And the guy with the cigar says, "Let's order another half dozen of them immediately." They are rolling in cash right now, guys.
Yes.
What is it and how are they getting it?
It's the coffee. It's the coffee. I'm telling you, it's the coffee beans.
Coffee is this? But
the white kind.
Capitalism alone, I'm gonna give my award to the three dictator guys just because I found them entertaining and they're rolling in it. And they're working together.
And one of the actually two of them have cigars. On page 3, one of them with the cigar, the clean one without the beard. He says that we want the best that money sees from the bourgeois capitalist exploiters can buy.
Look at these guys right there. I mean, come on, look at those guys. Yep. Boom. $250 million right
so
there.
He's still right there where they got the money.
Yeah, the guy in the middle looks like Borat when he in the Dictator movie he did.
Kevin, the next Joe convention you go to, you got to get 2 buddies, and you guys got to dress up as those guys.
No, and have like a big suitcase of fake money, and just and
get people to guess. Find somebody dressed as Dr. Mindbender, and you guys.
What I find interesting was that it was like in 20s and non-sequential bills or whatever it is, and I'm like, they could print their own money, whoever they are. So yeah, the 3 dictators of wherever that country is again.
Sierra Gordo, very nice, good choice, Kevin. And again, I am also going to differ from Brad, just because I had picked Slipstream, but then when Brad said, it's the obvious choice, I said, to hell with Brad. I don't like his attitude and his hatred for Raptor. Sorry. No, that was a good choice, but my choice is Serpentor. I like the fact that he's actually taking control of Cobra now.
Safe choice.
Well, I thought he did a good job. He's actually going out and he's selling, making the money. He's selling the terror drones. No matter whose idea it was to begin with, he's actually implementing it. And I just think Serpentor is stepping up to the plate. And since Cobra Commander's untimely demise, he's doing the hard job and stepping up, even though we all know he doesn't really want to do that. Yeah, right. He's stepping up and he's, taking control of Cobra and steering it to its new golden future. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But anyways, that was, I've got here my notes. Yeah, I picked Serpentor. The way he takes control, like he wasn't planning on it already. So that was the Real American Hero. Again, anyone in the chat, if you guys have a different thought or anyone you want to throw out, let us know. Next, we're going to move on to, again, something I stole from the Longbox Crusade, the favorite page of art. This is if you could have your choice of any page of art, which page would it be? We'll go ahead and start. We'll go back to Kevin. Kevin, what is your favorite page of art that you would like to have out of this book?
There's a few on here, but what's really interesting, if you could hold this up real quick to the picture.
Yeah, let me get you back up here.
Both of my favorite panels are actually right here, like back to back, but I would probably go with the Baroness and flying over with the Rattler, because I love how it starts out. You get you get the destroyed pit, and then you're looking at Snake Eyes, and you see the Rattler sneaking in behind him, and then right over the Joes. And then the rest in peace, and then you see her crying, and then you go right over to these guys right there, like dropping the money for that. Those guys crack me up. I'm sorry, and then over here you got the Knox drinking the grape soda and the donuts and stuff like that. Right here, this is gold right here. I love these 2 pages right here.
I agree with Brad, Kevin. You need to get on that for the next 501st or whatever get together, and
the finest Sierra Gordo dictators.
Yes, you need to get a couple guys team up with you, and you guys need to dress up with those guys and send me pictures. I want to see that.
That's a deep cut someone's gonna get. You just know it.
As Picard says, make it so. Very nice choice. And let me get back to here. And Brad, do you have a page of art?
It is really difficult to pick just one page. I think
it is not. Just go with the Conquest. You're going to go with the Conquest. Come on. There's a great beauty shot.
Of course, I'm going to go with the Conquest, but which one? Because you could go with the introduction of the Conquest on page 9, because it also fits in that Juan Valdez cameo off the top as well. But the whole aerial battle with the Firebat over pages 13, 14 into 15 are really
good ones.
Really well staged, really well blocked. The action, again, a real great sense of motion in all of these. But I will go with my first choice, which is number 9. Juan Valdez is getting his hat getting knocked off, beauty shot of the X-30, and Slipstream showing off to not Flint in the backseat. I think that's just It's just a fun little page, and it just hits in the right spot.
Let me go ahead, and if I was a little quicker, I wouldn't be me. Let me bring that up, and
there you can see it right there. Oh, I just disappeared. Oh, I'm back in.
And I've got it on the screen now.
There we go.
That's a great shot. That's a great, yeah, very nice. And as for me, I think 1 second, like you guys have both said, there's some great scenes in here, some beautiful panels, but I personally, let me bring it up, present. I had several to choose from, but I ultimately decided to go for, I think, page 21, the reveal of the brainwave scanner. And I just love that close-up look on Flint, in quotes, eyes as he sees, just the shock lines around his eyes and just showing that he recognizes it from somewhere. We don't know where yet. But yeah, there's that one panel there.
I'm holding it up for you right now.
Let me pull you back up then. Yeah, head up on the screen. There you go. So yeah, there's just that one panel there. I thought was fantastic. So that's the page I'm going to go. Actually, we get the new reasons.
Why hasn't the Finest made a brainwave scanner that you could fit in and get like a picture?
That's a good question, Kevin. Why has not made a brainwave scanner people can sit in?
I mean, look at this. Look at that like little spider thing that goes on the head right there.
Yeah.
Imagine putting that on fans and taking pictures. How cool!
Yes, that would be fantastic. Something to put their arms into.
But better yet, what if it actually worked? That'll work on that.
Let's work on it, Kevin. That's your next mission before the next episode.
By the way, I did have a post office box to pit letter. I just wanted to read real quick, if you don't mind.
Please. Oh no, I got my page in. You guys got yours. So yeah, go ahead.
I just thought this was kind of funny because I felt like the whoever's replying to the fans on the post office box a bit might have gotten a little annoyed by this letter. And the one that this is from Eric Milanis from Lake Carmel, New York. His full address is on here, by the way, but I'm not going to say it. Says, Dear Joes, in G.I. Joe number 44 on page 5, Destro and Baroness and the so-called Dr. Brainwave are sitting in a truck. Now, what I don't understand is why on page 15 in the first panel is the Baroness is calling Dr. Brainwave Dr. Mindbender. I think I deserve a no prize for spotting this error. What do you think? What do you give for no prizes anyway? Eric. And the reply goes, we don't give out no prizes for spotting errors, flaws, or mistakes. They don't exist in our universe. No prizes are awarded to those true believers who figured out a logical solution by explaining why something that seems to be a mistake isn't really one. The only way to find out what a no prize is to win one. Oh!
Well,
in your face.
In the very next letter from Michelle Lee, that person actually wins a no prize.
Eric just got owned. I wonder if Eric remained a fan after that. I'm just curious.
The fault on that, yeah. Apparently, Michelle Lee from Texas writes in regarding that scene, and they go on saying that I'm aware that issue 48. It was suggested the Destro called Dr. Mindbender by the name Dr. Brainwave out of sarcasm, and technically that couldn't apply here. But my idea is that Dr. Mindbender was originally going to call himself Dr. Brainwave, but in light of Destro's sarcasm and the doctor's own desire to psych out the prisoners he'd be interrogating, he changed his name to Mindbender. Destro and Cobra Commander were either being sarcastic or had forgotten that the doctor changed his name, or perhaps a little bit of both. Do I get a no prize? Your no prize is in the mail.
Yeah, go Michelle. That's how you do it, Eric. Don't be a dick.
So I do like, yeah, well, no, you don't get one. Oh, here's yours. Way to do it.
Got owned.
And also the letter column going back to, I forget who it was, someone mentioning about, why Major Blood maybe wasn't going after the leadership. Someone was asking about Major Blood, and the editor said that Major Blood is still hiding out in what's left of Springfield. More on that in the future. So, yeah, very nice. Very nice cover. Very nice issue. Good story.
Unlike Brad, I had to put my pristine copy back into the holder there so it doesn't get damaged.
Oh, I have mine here. I have mine here. Now that we're done the issue, I'm going to put it back in its sheath and hermetically seal it in its.
He's got his rolled up in his back pocket.
Oh, look at that! Okay, wow. Looks like he went through the brainwave scanner and changed his tax.
Some guys grabbed me and they forced me to take better care of my comics. There we go. Look at that. Nice. All
right.
Cool.
Nice. Wait, hold up. Is yours the direct issue or is it the retail one?
That's the retail one.
Hold it up. Hold it up.
Higher.
Hold up higher.
Where's it?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Zip code.
Right. I do like that barcode, actually. I think it looks cool.
But unless anyone has try that again. My mind turned off. Unless anyone has any other further questions or thoughts or anything about this issue, we're going to go and take a break, and we'll be right back with the cartoon. Give me a drink of soda. Okay. So if we're ready to go. Again, I know there are some people out there watching at this point. If you guys are out there watching, feel free to say hi and give your thoughts. It looks like they're on X or Twitter or X, so whichever. But so let's go move on to the cartoon. Just 1 second. Close out the comic. There we are. So welcome back from the break. Now it's time for the cartoon. Insert the credit or the sequence. The title of this episode was called The Gods Below, directed by John Gibbs and Terry Lennon. Writer was Gordon Kent. First aired November 11th, 1985. The synopsis, which came from Hasbro per JoeGuide.com, a mission to rescue an archaeologist from Cobra's clutches leads the Joes on a strange supernatural journey through the labyrinthine tunnels of a pharaoh's tomb to a confrontation with Osiris, the Egyptian god of the dead. And I have thoughts on this. But before we get to me, Brad, pull you up. Brad, do you have any thoughts on this episode?
Boy, where do I begin? Where to begin? You see, this is what G.I. Joe, the cartoon, does really well that the comic book doesn't. And that is just go full tilt boogie into straight ahead fantasy. Gods of Egypt. And yes, your mileage may vary, but really, what else do you expect? Dinosaurs? Maybe. Probably some dinosaurs do show up quite soon. No spoiler intended. But has anybody ever really stopped to think how much of what we know of Egypt's iconography was really popular with cartoons of the 70s and 80s and live action media as well? Because just thinking about it, they figure so heavily into a lot of the media from the time. There's an early 2-part Battlestar Galactica episode called Planet of the Gods, where they actually filmed at the pyramids in Egypt with actors standing in for Lauren Green and Richard Hatch and Jane Seymour, quite poorly, I might add. And I think
we didn't know that as a kid.
We didn't care as a kid.
But I think in the 70s, I think it was when King Tut's sarcophagus toured the U.S. and that just sparked this whole wave of interest in Egypt. Steve Martin.
And you had ISIS as well, the TV show.
Yeah, Mighty ISIS.
And
you had Steve Martin doing the King Tut song.
Yeah. Oh, good call out.
James Bond goes to Egypt in The Spy Who Loved Me. Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Cairo, the Temple of Souls. So there was just this Egypt mania happening, and that really carried over into the cartoons we watched with things like pyramids and camels and mummies and all that fun stuff. And this episode, it is what it is, which is just crazy cosmic silliness starring the G.I. Joe team. And I'm not going to go into any specifics. I'm going to leave that for you guys. But I just have to say, you have to applaud it for not doing the old hand wave away that so many other shows of this type would do. It goes all in on Gods of Egypt. Sure, why not? Because the animated G.I. Joe universe was always about magic and dinosaurs and Excalibur and fatal fluffies. And it is its own thing. It very much fits into that sort of fantastical 80s cartoon genre where, again, like I said, previously about the deregulation of the airwaves, that it allowed people just to kind of throw everything at the wall and see what stuck. And I think there was even a mummy-related toy and cartoon line out there. I'm just blanking on the name right now, but
Sounds like
this
it.
kind of feels like that. This feels in that zone. So there's a definite demarcation point between the cartoon and the comic, and you definitely see it in this issue or this episode.
And real quick, Kevin, thoughts on this episode?
Got notes. Got notes. Okay, so we have the tomb of the ancient Egyptian god Osiris. Poor scientists always getting captured by Cobra. That seems to be a trope in these cartoons. Some of them are in disguise, some of them are not. But boy, just like Duke getting captured, scientists are just screwed in G.I. Joe. You'd think Cobra would just hire some really smart people that know about a bunch of this stuff, but nope. Scientists always getting captured. Scientists, by the way, sound a lot like Duke. Found out it was the same voice actor. Now, I thought that this was an interesting G.I. Joe team here going to the desert. Alpine, Barbecue, Bazooka, okay. Duke, okay. Lady J, okay. I'm sorry, where's Dusty? Come on, really?
Yes.
Maybe Leatherneck, you know? I mean, Dusty?
This is pre
Not in
yeah.
Egypt? I mean, come on. Okay, all right.
There's more to come on this thought, on my thoughts.
and I'm going to ask again, and I'm going to throw this to you guys, throw this to the listeners. Can someone please explain Barbecue's accent? I just, it's one of these mysteries. It bugs me. It keeps me up at night. What kind of direction did the voice guy get to come up with Barbecue's accent? I'm not going to try to do it, but you know what I'm talking about.
I think he was going for a Boston.
No.
Well, I'm not saying he succeeded.
No, he did not. No, there's something really weird going on there. I don't know.
I think he was seeking his direction for that one somewhere over the rainbow near the pot of gold.
Yeah, I'm gonna go that direction with you too, there, Brad. Yeah, I think you and I are right there. Yeah, but yeah, that's out there. I'm just gonna let you go. So this game was giving me an Indiana Jones vibe, or at least an Alan Quartermain vibe regarding this. So Osiris is married to Isis. Hot. Just saying that. Every Isises I've seen, hot. Bazooka making doorways with a bazooka. I thought that was kind of cool. You want to go this way? We're gonna go this way. Okay, I want you guys to rack your brain memory of all of the Cobra Commander moments you've seen either in live action, or you've seen in cartoons, or in printed comic books here. Cobra Commander tackles the Baroness to stop them from burying alive the Joes with the treasure. Is this the most action he's ever gotten with a chick?
At least the comic book one, yes, I'd probably say.
I'm just going to throw that out there. I love that nice tackle that Duke does, where he does the double Crimson Guard tackle. He takes both of them. I thought that was kind of cool. Bazooka blows up the listening hole while Cobra Commander was on the other side. You see fire coming out of there. I thought that was pretty cool. Lady J as a Crimson Guard in disguise. Hot. Also, she asked, how do they breathe in those? Every finest member of the G.I. Joe costume group knows what this feels like. I have some very good friends of mine that are CGs, and I've put on one of those helmets before. It's tough. Also, the Baroness threatened to whip the CG Joes in disguise if they're hiding something. What? Crown of Osiris. When Cobra Commander picks it up, he is gassed by the snake serpent. Isn't it ironic? I mean, wouldn't the helmet filter out the gas? Just saying. I don't know. The Joes get lowered into a large room where Osiris greets them, who sounds like Destro, by the way, and I was correct, the same actor. and says that they are in the realm of the dead. I thought that was interesting. So I couldn't figure out what they were saying, referring to the evil brother. At first, I thought they said, "This is my evil brother, Sex." Sex? What? But it's was it Set? Set. S-E-T. Set. And he has a bird for a head. Brad, you have thoughts on that, I'm sure. And then it commences. There's this weird god tribunal that commences. And Cobra Commander and the crew, the god of evil, worshippers of the serpent. The Baroness convinces Sect of their loyalty, of course. They're Cobras. And it just seemed like, too, that Joes are flying an Ankh. Weird. Of course, they have to survive to prove their loyalty. I remember in the 90s wearing an Ankh necklace, so, I guess they were ahead of the time, so who knows. Every Egyptian god seemed to be thrown into the mix in this episode, which I thought was kind of interesting. And I'm just going to say they might have... Okay, so this came out in 86, right, guys?
Yep.
Indiana Jones 3 came out in 89. Cobra Commander and the Baroness trying to escape, but the treasure, it doesn't go well because the treasure can't leave the tomb. Bad stuff happens. Indy 3, anyone? And what point is having treasure if you can't take it out and spend it? And the Joes escape with the help of Anubis. Of course, I always find Anubis funny because he's got a dog face. And that's what I got for news. But yeah, nice. Yeah. So barbecue, go figure that out for me, please.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've showed you guys this yet or not. I had a friend of mine. I'll bring myself full screen.
The Cobra Commander hairdryer gun. Yeah.
Yes, I got a friend of mine that has a 3D printer a guy I used to work with. So I see, it's very well made.
It's sturdy.
For those of you listening, Aaron just dropped the gun.
Yes, I just dropped the gun. That's why I don't have a real gun, because I'd blow my finger. Anyways,
I have that exact same weapon I use for my GI Joe or my Cobra disguise incognito disguise.
Very nice. Love that costume.
Yeah, I have that on there. So yeah.
I found the plans online. I had a friend of mine that with a 3D printer and had him print that. Right now he's looking to the matrix of leadership for me also. But
nice. That's a good job on that gun, by the way. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought you did a great job.
When I got mine, it came in I think 3 or 4 parts, and I had to glue them together because when that was printed, that was like 5 or 6 years ago. But printing has gotten a lot better since then.
Well, he had to put it together for. He's like, you want to put it together? You can bring in the parts you do. If you can do it, I'll screw it up. I know me. So if you don't mind putting it together for me, buddy, I'd appreciate that. But my thoughts on this episode. Someone's going to reflect on some of what you guys have said. Oh, and real quick, I thought that Brad was making about Egyptian stuff being hot right now. Also, Thundercats. Mumra was Egyptian, had mummy and all that. So again, I like the archaeologist's face reflecting Cobra Commander's helmet. Thought that was a nice touch. My second thought, something that Kevin mentioned earlier: why is Dusty not in a friggin' desert episode?
I kind of feel like when these cartoons are putting together, deciding what's going to be the G.I. Joe thing, I just felt like they had like a long box crusade randomizer. And they just kind of let's see who's in there. But I think like Duke always has to be there, and maybe Lady J or something. And they're like, okay, who's gonna follow him? And then it's just like really, Alpine.
It could have been desert. It could have been an order from Hasbro saying we got warehouses full of Alpine and barbecue figures gathering dust. You got to put them in more episodes so the kids will remember they're out there. And by the way, everybody's sure we're all sold out of Dusties. We have to go with something else.
Good call, Brad. Good call. Because I'm like, where's Dusty?
You're probably right. You're spot on. Yeah.
This is a desert. This is a desert.
At least they didn't put in Snow Job and Frostbite and Iceberg.
My next note on this, or next thought, as I'm watching this, of course, Duke is the first one to spring a trap. I'm not surprised. I like Bazooka's auto-filling bazooka. As soon as he runs out, his backpack's still full and he's firing off bazookas like crazy. Thought that was nice. The spinning room that they're in reminds me very much of the Gravitron. And when it went to the fairs back in the 80s, remember the Gravitron?
Yeah, those were the puke.
Those are platform and it spins around.
Those were the puke induced rides. I remember those well.
Yes.
Yeah.
My next comment on here is I like Tackle the Bear. Never mind. Never mind. I'm noticing that when they were dressed as CGs, that Alpine was looking very white in his costume. Coloring on Alpine, sometimes, they don't get him colored quite right. And he comes across as very white. And as Kevin pointed out, I noticed that Destro, the same voice actor, voice Osiris. So I had to look, and yes, it was his voice. But apparently Peter Cullen's also credited as doing the voice at times. So I'm not sure how that happened, but yeah, both the guy that does Destro and Peter Cullen is both credited as Osiris in that episode. Also, according to IMDb, 2 different people voiced Barbecue in this episode. Going back to his accent, so maybe that's something to do with it.
How is it 2 people in the world can pull off that Barbecue accent? I don't get it.
And my last comment on here, following up something that Brad kind of said, after this episode, people's going to tell me that Cobra Law was a step too far. Because a lot of people say, Cobra Law was the way they got out of G.I. Joe. That was too far. Seriously, after dealing with Egyptian gods and dying and go to the Round of the Dead and riding a giant freaking Ankh, Cobra Law was a step too far. Seriously. And this is the first season. We saw a whole other season where we get to Cobra Law and people are like, oh, Cobra Law was too far. That was why I stopped. That got too unrealistic.
This was the opening band for Cobra Law, this episode.
Yeah,
this episode was just weird.
I've talked about the fatal fluffies and the giant germs and all this.
Hey. Can we stop ragging on the fatal fluffies?
No, it wasn't bad. I enjoyed them. Don't get me wrong.
Fatal fluffies rule, okay? I don't care. Anyone says I'm going to defend the fatal fluffies till I die. Let's stop ragging on the fatal fluffies. They rule, okay? Come on.
And that wasn't me ragging on.
If you're gonna go off on the fatal fluffies, then you better start talking about some breakdancing that happens later, okay? Come on.
There is the breakdancing Snake Eyes and Timber and all that. Yeah, that. But again,
forget about that part.
I'm not saying nothing bad about the fatal fluff. I like them. It's just when you start talking about G.I. Joe going too far, the cartoon's always done that. So
especially since when the Finest has actually made a full size fatal fluffy and the baby version, you can't go anywhere more than that. You can't dog on that. Because you know what happens when people see that? The people that dog the fatal fluffies go, right. Oh my god, look how mean that one is.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed the fatal fluffies. I like them. I'm just saying for the people that says Cobra Law was too far. Seriously, did you not watch the first season? We're dealing with Egyptian gods and riding a giant Ankh. What the hell?
Yeah.
But anyways, that was my thoughts on this episode. Yeah, like you say, it's par for course. It's not realistic by any means. Like
I had no memory of this episode, and when you told me that we were going to discuss the gods below, for whatever reason, I thought Torpedo was going to be involved. I thought Shipwreck was going to be involved. I thought we were going to go down to the bottom of the ocean depths, and now we're at the bottom of a pyramid, and it's like it's a Cobra heist movie episode.
Fair assessment. You're not wrong there, but for thinking that. But yeah, so that was the gods below. Again, very, very cartoonish, very mystical, very Cobra Law, and I do like, they did reference, the snake god, and we worship you. We're Cobra. What do we want? Thought that was a nice touch. So, but Cobra Law is a step too far. Anyways, Brad, any other thoughts on?
No, I'm gonna
be so far.
Yeah, and this kind of ties into both the issue and the episode. I'm going to be that guy for the foreseeable future because, as you both know, we talked about this before we started the episode, that I just purchased the big Art of G.I. Joe omnibus hardcover from the 3djoes.com people, which again I really can't recommend enough to G.I. Joe fans. Yes, it is expensive, but it's a 20-pound 700-page hardcover collection containing pretty much every piece of G.I. Joe related artwork from Hasbro released between 1982 and 1995. But getting to my overall point, though, is in the book, they talk with the Hasbro executives behind the line, and they let slip a really interesting fact that in the industry, your average toy line has maybe 2 to 3 years of life in it before the kids who see them and fall in love with them and play with them move on to something else. And as a result, every 3 or so years, the line, if it's still going, really needs to reinvent itself to attract new fans. And looking at G.I. Joe, both in the comic and in the cartoon, you really do see that 1982 to 1985 feels very much of that first era. And the era that we're in now, 86 through 88, feels like a completely different era. And that's because it is a different era, because right now we're in that second era where the military realism is increasingly taking a backseat to the more outlandish, fantastical stuff, whether it's, gods down below, we go into outer space in a number of issues down the line. There's still realism, but it's going to be vying for attention with guys like Serpentor and Dreadnoks and more sci-fi stuff, including a character codenamed Sci-Fi and a guy who dresses as a bird. But I think in part that's why I kind of started to disengage with G.I. Joe around this time, just because the property had kind of advanced to that second wave, or that second span of its life, where it had to kind of go a little broader and a little more colorful to rope in the new audience who was going to keep it alive. And because while I was aging out of the toys and the comic was reinventing itself, it's the thing they kind of had to do to keep the line going. And you have to applaud them for it, because it did work. I mean, 1982 to 1985 or 95 is an impressive feat. That's longer than Star Wars and He-Man and even Transformers in their heydays really lasted. And I got to say, all props to G.I. Joe, because not even a guy dressed as a bird could kill that momentum for some time at least. But that's just, I think it just kind of ties into what the cartoon's doing and what the comic is going to start to do as we go forward.
Especially when you think about the competition they have, like with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You got to give them credit for them. Yes, they made their Joes brighter and weirder and stuff like that, but that's what was kind of the trend at the time. Yeah. Maybe we checked out, but then there was this younger group that started checking in. And then as we get older, we kind of start checking back in to the stuff that we weren't familiar with, and we get re-familiar with it again. Especially when I see my fellow Finest members in the G.I. Joe costume group doing costumes of these characters that I checked out of in the 90s, and I have to go back and go, that's actually pretty darn cool, And so it's nice to, and then so as we do this podcast, Aaron, I don't remember a lot of those storylines as we start getting older. So it's kind of like a first impression again for us, which is kind of fun to attack with, so to speak.
And I think I addressed that also, an issue that Kevin or an episode that Kevin wasn't around for, because we'd said that I feel like the first 50 issues of this book I know really well, and some of the earlier cartoons, like the first couple of miniseries, I know really well, but everything from this point beyond is like watching it completely new and fresh again, because I had just kind of disengaged from it. And actually, going back to the beginning of the episode, when I moved from Greensboro to Brockville, G.I. Joe was on 5 days a week in Greensboro. It wasn't on TV anywhere in Canada.
Is this North Carolina or South Carolina?
North Carolina. So I went from being able to watch the cartoon 5 days a week to not being able to watch it at all. So from September 1986, anything beyond in the cartoon and even a lot of the comic stuff is just completely out there for me. I have no idea what happens next, which is exciting.
Yeah.
So I watched all the cartoon for these first two seasons. Where I get lost at is when it went over to DIC or DIC or however you pronounce it. I watched the first miniseries, and then I never saw it again, and didn't realize you had a continuation until many years later. And I picked up the DVDs, but since we're covering it on the show, I'm going to wait until we actually get there at some point to actually view those. So, and from what I hear from people, it's not probably a bad choice. So we'll see. So we'll actually be a first time.
I went on eBay because you know how they were releasing those toys of the miniseries, so you could build the mass device, and they had like the Serpentor Rise, they had the Pyramid of Darkness, which is my favorite, and then they had, of course, the original one.
Right.
And I didn't want to spend the amount. I just wanted the DVD of the whole entire series of Pyramid of Darkness. So I went on eBay and just found the loose DVD and bought that instead of having to buy the whole toy system or the whole toy collection. So yeah, that'd be fun.
So we'll see if we get there eventually. And like I say, the comic book, I stayed with it until 120s, 130s. I kind of drifted away. I've still got some in that range, so I just don't remember a lot in that range when it started getting more colorful and bringing the Transformers in on the regular book and just a lot of that. Yeah, it became the snake. It became the Ninja Force guest starring GI Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And real quick in the chat,
that's that. Oh, someone's in the chat.
Yep, Milo Pantone. Forgive me if I mispronounced your name, sir.
What's up, Milo?
He said, sorry, can't stay long. He just wanted to say he absolutely loves the podcast. He really enjoys listening to us talk G.I. Joe.
Well, thank you, Milo. Very kind of you.
Good. Like I said, I'd be doing this anyways just because I enjoy talking to the guys about G.I. Joe, but it's always nice to hear from listeners. So thank you, Milo. Glad you joined us, man.
We enjoy listening to ourselves talk about G.I. Joe also.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. Especially me. So, yeah.
Yeah. Once a month, I can actually, geek out and talk, because everyone else around me like, oh, God, he's going on again, So these guys, they're here. So share your thoughts, Brad.
Oh boy, I'm not gonna add any more thoughts because I'm gonna say another thing about the guy dressed as a bird, and I'm probably hanging by a thread here anyway. So I'll just say, I'm just gonna say, oh God. No, I mean, the comic feels very much like the beginning of a new era. It feels like a new start, and things do get a little more outlandish from here. It's still somewhat grounded, and we have the this Sierra Gordo storyline with Kevin's new favorite, Three Amigos.
The Dictators, the Three Dictators. That's a movie right there.
Yeah, man, and we are going to get into this. I think it's the Borovnian storyline where some of our Joes are captured and forced into a gulag, which, as I recall, is actually one of my favorite storylines of this era. It really feels like an old school, earlier G.I. Joe story. And I kind of feel that doing special missions at the same time kind of gave Larry an outlet to focus on more realism in that book than this one. So we've said before on Bravo Team talking about special missions, if you're a fan of like the first 20 or so issues of G.I. Joe, this is the one you really want to read.
Yes.
But there's some good carryover here. This issue feels kind of like a bit of a sort of a synthesis of the two of them, of the more realistic, but still somewhat out there. There's still some gritty stuff to come, which is fun to anticipate. So I am looking forward to that as well.
And Brad's only got a couple more episodes before I stop inviting him on because Raptors will be showing up here in issue 50.
Oh, I can't wait to do that episode. I already read the issue, and I've already started compiling notes about things I'm going to say about Raptor.
I can't wait for the classified version of him, but that's another story entirely because they got mental issues. But speaking of mental issues, Kevin, any other thoughts? Any other thoughts on this issue or episode or
all true? First of all, we've been talking about birds a lot in this episode, and I feel like something's missing. We're missing Freedom. Come on, Freedom had to come in and say hi. He's got to come and do his thing. Freedom.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thanks again for having me on, Aaron. It was fun to revisit this issue of 54, of course, and I think it was a good plot setup too. Entertaining comic too. New vehicles and toys to get excited about, and also then the cartoon itself. Gotta be honest, I had completely forgotten about it, and now I know why. As much as we love to make fun of the cartoon series, we still enjoy talking about it because it brings back a lot of nostalgia, a lot of memory. The Gods Below, not one of my favorites, but the next one, I remember that one.
So let me pull mine real quick. And I agree with you guys. Like I say, the cartoon we always kind of poke fun at, and we kind of, again, it is a bit sillier. It is more outlandish, more gone away from the I guess realism that the comic book had. but it was fun in its own right. And like I've said before, no matter how goofy the cartoon gets, it's what put a lot of us in. I mean, that was my first GI Joe, was the cartoon. If it wasn't for that, I may have not gotten into GI Joe, and I wouldn't be doing this podcast today. So, for better or worse, it is what it is. And I was just looking real quick what the next episode was. Oh, yes. Oh, okay.
But the episode cartoon is the primordial plot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something about dinosaurs. Yes.
Yeah.
So again,
I wonder what that could be
about. Anyways, but yeah, no, I loved rehashing these old, cartoons. And like I say, I know I've watched them more frequent than you guys have, I'm sure. Like I said, a couple of years ago when I was working swing shift at the IRS, I would come home. Got a picture on screen there. I would come home from work, and like an hour or so later, they'd be playing them on some channel. I forget what it was now, but there was some channel they play the episodes on, so I would watch them again. So I always like watching the cartoon, as goofy as it may be. And yeah, Larry did a fantastic job in the book. I'm loving it. So I'm going to go real quick. Milo, thank you for joining in. Thanks everyone else. It looks like, according to my thing, there was someone on YouTube and 10 people on X watching us. So thank you guys very much for joining in and watching us. Please feel free to leave some thoughts. I'd love to hear from people. As far as me, you can hear me on the Headcast network. Right now, yeah, the website's still down, and I don't think it's coming back up. I may move it over to my headspeaks.com website. I'm working on that right now. Billing issue and all that, and Gmail blocking things, but stupid Gmail. But I do have, all my shows, Head Speaks, where I talk about anything comic book or geeky. I'm currently covering the Power of the Atom miniseries, the Power of the Atom series. I'm coming up to the end of that. I'm also going to be playing some episodes on there that the wife and I started recording called Respective of the 80s, looking at stuff from the 80s, because again, that's my favorite era. I've got the Task Force X, looking at the Suicide Squad. I've got the Starman Adventure Show, which is coming to an end sometime this year. I'm coming up near the end of that one. Then I've got this show, which we do this, and we also do Bravo Team. Right now, we're switching between the special missions, which is bi-monthly at the time, and all in between months, we're looking at the Order of Battle. And I'm also talking to some guys from over on the Transformers podcast about doing G.I. Joe versus Transformers for Bravo Team. So we'll get to that eventually also. And then my other shows I've got is Voyager's Cast that I do with the wife. We're coming up with the last episode or 2 of that one. That's ending. That was on the TV show Voyagers, not Star Trek Voyagers, from 1982, 1983. And then the other show I have is the Starbright Project that the wife and I do, looking at the Quantum Leap TV series. Originally, we started looking at the original series, but now with the new show on, we're looking at the new show. So join in. It's all on the Headcast Network. You can find it on Facebook. I've got 2 different groups. I've got the Headcast Network and then G.I. Joe. We're on X. I'm on Instagram, even though I don't do as much as I should. YouTube, of course. Check us out. Speaking of checking out, Brad, final thoughts on, or where can we find you? Or like your final thoughts for the show entirely? No, where can we find you to hear more from you and your insane hatred of Raptor and other bird?
It's not so much hatred. It's just we're going here. Oh boy. Well, actually, this is the only podcast I'm on any regular basis. This and Bravo Team. After hearing you list off all the ones that you're involved in, I feel like I'm slacking here. You can find me at my website, bradabraham.com. As I speak right now, it hasn't gone live, but there's going to be a new post going up there in April. And it's about how people are sort of rediscovering physical media and why I think physical media is important. So definitely check that out. Drop me a message. We have actually surprisingly a very small but growing community of commenters on my website, which was a real shock because it feels like the personal website and the weblog is kind of dead, and it's been replaced by social media and everything. But out of sheer defiance, I'm keeping my website alive and putting some fun things up there.
There you
So
go.
stop by, say
Nice.
hi.
Stick it to the man. Sorry.
Yeah.
Very nice. And speaking of doing a lot of podcasts, Kevin, be honest, buddy.
What, me? First of all, shout out to Brad bringing up the physical media, especially with a lot of the streaming stuff that's changing because of licensing. A lot of people are freaking out when you can't find your favorite shows and movie on certain streamers. And yeah, like Best Buy not carrying, Blu-rays and DVDs anymore, and other stores kind of getting rid of stuff. As you can see, I don't have to worry about that. But one of the topics that's a big passion of mine. I do a few podcasts. I am the co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network. Appreciate it if you can give us a like and a subscribe on YouTube. You can find me on X, Instagram, Threads, and Letterboxd at Spartan_Phoenix. And yeah, make sure you check out the Fandom Podcast Network. All of our podcasts are on YouTube. And right now we're currently showcasing the movies of 1984 on our Time Warp podcast, where we cover it monthly, each month of 1984. And there's some banger movies that came out in 1984, like Ghostbusters and Karate Kid. I mean, it's a lot of fun. But we also talk about a lot of the pop culture around the movies, like the TV series, as well as the music and some other things as well. It's a lot of fun. Make sure you check that out. And also check out our Couch Potato Theater, where we celebrate our favorite movies. We're going to be doing Roadhouse, the original Roadhouse, soon. And we're going to also have a quick discussion about the recent reboot that they did. And I also got my Highlander podcast as well. That's going still. And also I have a new co-host, and we're doing our hair metal podcast. If you're a fan of the 1980s through early 90s hair metal era music, that's going strong right now. One of our favorite episodes was we went back to 1989, and we had my buddy Mike, who's my co-host, and two of his friends, and we did a 1989 super group draft, fantasy football style. We put together a fantasy football style draft for if we were to put together a super group and tour in the summer of 1989 of what rock stars would be with us, and that was a lot of fun. So, and our Culture Clash, which is our bi-weekly show that we do, covers, right now we're highlighting time travel movies and also bringing movies back from oblivion, ones that you may have forgotten. So make sure you check that out. Fandom Podcast Network and fpnet.podbean.com is our master feed for all of our audio podcasts.
I've got on the screen in case you're watching on YouTube. And I forgot to do this when I had Brad on. Where'd it go?
Yeah, where's Brad? Where's Brad's stuff?
There we go.
Forgot to post Brad's. You got to look. Oh shit! I forgot to do that. So yeah, definitely check out Brad. Brad's got some great work. Again, his Magician's Impossible book he wrote. I got on my shelf over here next to The Joy of Joe. It was a fantastic book. I loved it. I can't recommend it enough to anyone that likes good written.
I have copies. I have copies you can order through the website, and if somebody wants to get a copy and mention they heard about it on the Real American Headcast, they'll get some bonus stuff.
Nice. So, BradAbraham.com. So yeah, no, great work, Brad. And yeah, Kevin's got a bunch of great shows. Definitely love, especially the time travel stuff they're working on right now. I love, again, a huge fan of time travel myself, so can't recommend Kevin's stuff enough. So
yeah, we just did Looper, we did Timeline, and so we got some other ones in the plan as well. So yeah,
very nice. Very nice. So yeah, thank you guys very much for joining me. Again, I appreciate you guys taking time out of your Sunday to.
Oh, and by the way, we did Time Cop too. Couch Potato Theater for Time Cop. So make sure you check that out. That just released. It was a great episode.
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic movie. I want to thank everyone. I say we had Milo in the chat and everyone else that watched on either Twitter or X, as they call it, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're at. Thank you guys very much for joining us. Thank you, Freedom, for showing up. It's always a pleasure having you, my fine feathered friend. But that's going to do it for this episode of G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast. Join us next month when we talk about issue 55, which again has a special meaning for me. I love that.
Unmaskings.
Primordial Plots. So definitely check it out. And like I say, check us out over. I'm not sure where I'm lining up on Bravo Team, but it's either more than likely Special Missions or the Order of Battle. So again, Order of Battle was originally going to be 2 episodes per show, but
that Order of Battle is a long
didn't
book.
quite make it out like I saw it. So yeah, it's
but it's so much fun. You could drag that out for 10 years and I'm in, man. So
that's a half an issue now per episode, just because or we'd have 4-hour episodes. But I really enjoy talking to the guys about that. It's fantastic. So that's going to do it for this episode. Until next month, remember, Yo Joe.
Yo Joe.
Yo Joe.
And we're going to end the stream now. Have a good day, guys. End the stream.